Okay, this is a quick tutorial to show you how to use jQuery plus CSS to have some powerful effects. So what I'm going to walk you through is just setting up a jQuery event to trigger a change to a class, which we then can use CSS to change. So here's sort of the final file we'll make in this tutorial. Notice I got click here to make magic happen, and there's paragraph to be effective. When I click that, it changes the paragraph's color. And it is doing that using CSS. So changing the paragraph from gray to red isn't that interesting, but because what we're doing is changing CSS, we can do anything else we might do with CSS there. So for example, I just added some CSS code now to add a border when it's clicked. And of course, anything you can do with CSS, you can do with this, which means that if you are more comfortable with CSS than you are with JavaScript, this is kind of a nice way to handle things. So now I'm going to back up and walk you through how I got here. So here is my code, and we're actually going to simplify this significantly for now, and then we'll get back to where we started. So I'm importing my jQuery library. I then have my script in this section. I have a style sheet here, and I have a body here. And to begin with, I'm just going to create one class, which I'll call clicked. So I'll create a class called clicked, and like I always like to do, I just turn the color red. I make very simple CSS to make sure it works, and then later we can make it fancy. So clicked color red is the CSS. Now notice nothing in my HTML has the class clicked. So this is a class selector. But I am going to add the class selector using jQuery. So here's our standard jQuery script. It says when the document is ready. I just log a hello world because I like to be able to check if it's working at all. And then I'm going to select the ID magic, which is right here in my HTML, ID magic. That could be any selector. When that is clicked, I'm going to do this function. And the function we're going to use is called add class. So we select the element however we would select an element. So for example, to start with, I could just select all paragraphs, and I can add a class to them. So I'm going to add the class clicked. So what this does is it says, when magic is clicked, select all paragraphs and add the class clicked. Clicked will turn them red. Let's reload our page and click. Notice everything turned red because I just used the P selector when I clicked it. And of course, it's not changing back at this point. It's just making a one-way change. So when magic is clicked, we add the class paragraph, reload again, nothing is, now I click it and everything just turned red. So that seems kind of boring, but what's cool about it is that because I'm adding a class and then I use a CSS selector, it means that I can use CSS to do all my work. So if, for example, you have a designer who's very strong in CSS, maybe that's you, maybe it's someone on your team. If you're running a web design firm, you can have your programmer just add and remove the classes. Maybe they just make things red and yellow when they're testing. And then the designer can go and tweak all the details of the CSS using CSS. So this is how the different languages can work together very elegantly. All right, let's get this a little bit fancier. We don't likely actually want to select. In this case, I said paragraph to be affected should be after. So I'm going to go ahead. I could put a class on that paragraph. I can also use the magic this. So this, well, let's see what this would do. This would change the thing that was clicked. So if what you want to do is change what's clicked, you can just use this. But you can also navigate the DOM or the tree. DOM is the word for the tree, the document object model, using this. So jQuery has the next keyword. I can grab the next item and turn it red, like that. Very nice. Maybe I have a button inside of a div, and I want to turn everything in that div red. So here's some other div. Here's an example where I've got the magic is inside of a div. I'll show you what this document looks like. Let me throw some CSS to make the divs clear. I'll put a border on the divs quickly. Hey, div, what did I do wrong there? Oops, one picks black solid. Sorry about that. There we go, now the divs. So now I can say this parent, and that will take the parent. So the magic paragraph, its parent is this div, which I can see if I indent nicely. And now it'll take the parent and turn it into clicked, which of course puts the red on the whole div. So, you know, you can also use find. So for example, I can say this parent, let's imagine that I had a, some child in this. I've got a span in there. I can say find, and here I can do a jQuery selector, which will find everything inside of another jQuery selector. So just to show you how that works. Now this says grab my parent, that's the div, and search inside of that div for any spans and turn them red. So between parent, next, and find, you can sort of navigate from whatever object was clicked to what you want. In this case, all we need is this.next, and we're just going to add the class clicked. So once again, paragraph to be affected, and we're not affecting the rest of the paragraphs now. Very nice. So a few more things to know. Let's say we wanted to create a toggle. Maybe we've got an unclicked state. I'll just make that gray for now. Let's imagine it starts in the unclicked state. By default, if I don't do anything else, now my clicking is failing, and it's failing for a kind of interesting reason, which maybe the document inspector will show you. It's failing because at this stage, my clicked paragraph has both the unclicked and the clicked class. All I did was add a class. I didn't remove any class. And since unclicked comes after clicked, it supersedes it. So the color gray and color red are both applied, and the color gray wins. So to overcome that, we can remove the other class. So I can say this next remove class, just like add class, unclicked, and then add the class clicked. And let's see if I did that right. Now it removes the class and clicks it. You likely want to do a toggle so that clicking it maybe changes it back and forth. In that case, we can use an if statement in jQuery, which we haven't actually gone over the syntax of. So I will show you that. The generics way that you do if one thing is true, do something else. You can say if some condition that evaluates the true or false, and then some list of actions comes in between brackets. And then you have else and another set of brackets, and this is some other set of actions. So the condition in our case is going to be, there's a has class keyword. So has class, does it have the class unclicked? Okay, if it does, we are going to say this, oops, I forgot my parens there. Next, remove class, unclicked, and then this, next, add class, clicked. Beautiful. Otherwise, we're going to say this, next, remove class, clicked, and this, next, add class, oops, unclicked. So this is pretty handy. I can get rid of that code. Now I'm going to check everything. When the document is ready, say hello world, grab the magic thing. When that is clicked, do this. Do what? If the next item has the unclicked state, then we remove the unclicked class and we add the class clicked. Otherwise, we remove the class clicked and we add the class unclicked. Let's see if I got that right. I did. So of course, now that I have that in CSS, I can do anything I can do with CSS. So for example, an obvious one